Hey everyone, welcome to Chapter 8. We're going to be talking about infinite series, so let's do a little introduction to infinite series. In an infinite series, that's where you take an infinite number of terms and add them together. Each part is called a term, and a sub n is called the nth term. The partial sum is when you add up a certain number of them. So like s sub n might mean like s of 8, means add up the first 8 terms. What if it goes forever? Then it can either converge or it can diverge. And we talked about this in Algebra 2. Some infinite series converge, but most of them diverge. Well, how in the world could we ever have an infinite series that converges? Well, one example is a geometric series. That's where you multiply by the same thing every single time. Well, what kind of numbers can you multiply that will make things smaller? Less than 1. Fractions. If it is less than 1, this will tell us what our answer is, and it converges. But if we're multiplying by more than 1, it diverges. Negative 1 to 1 is called that interval of convergence. Where it converges between negative 1 and 1. For example, if I take a look at this problem, is it convergent or divergent? And if it converges, what's it converge to? Well, I need to know what the first term is. The first term is 3/10. I also need to know what I'm multiplying by. What am I multiplying by? 1/10. The formula says it is a sub 1 over 1 minus r. I guess I should ask this. This tells you that it's convergent. Why? Because it's less than 1. Or less than the absolute value of 1, might be a better way to say it. Or we'll just say it's less than 1. So it's 3/10 divided by 1 minus 1/10. That's 3/10 divided by 9/10, which is 3/10 times 10/9, which is 1/3. So this thing converges to 1/3. Again, why? Because the absolute value of 1/10 is less than 1. Let's try another one. Let's take a look at this one. In this one, a sub 1, the first term is 1. Or, I'm multiplying by 1/2 every time, but because it's alternating, it must mean I'm multiplying by negative 1/2. Is it convergent? Yes. The absolute value of negative 1/2 is less than 1, so it's convergent. What's it converge to? A sub 1 over 1 minus r. That's 1 over 3/2, which is 2/3. This thing is convergent to 2/3. How about this one? This is an interesting one. A sub 1 equals 1, r equals, what are you multiplying by every time here? Negative 1. Is the absolute value of negative 1 less than 1? No, it's not. It's equal to 1. And it's not less than. So this is divergent. Use some common sense and you'll see why. 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. It just bounces back and forth between 0 and 1. Let's take a look at this one. Maybe it'll help if you write out some terms. If you plug in 1, you get 1/2 to the 0, which is 1 times 3, comma. The next one's 3 times 1/2, so 3/2. The next one's 3 times 1/4, so 3/4. You guys can see that a sub 1 is 3, and r is 1/2. This is convergent. It's convergent since the absolute value of 1/2 is less than 1. What's it converge to? 3 over 1 minus r. That's 3 divided by 1/2, or 3 times 2. Converges to 6. Let's take a look at this one. Let's write out some terms. If you plug in 0, 3/5 of the 0 is 1. If you plug in 1, you get 3/5. If you plug in 2, you get 9/25. And that should be enough to show you the pattern. A sub 1 is 1. R is 3/5. So it's convergent since 3/5 is less than 1. absolute value of 3/5 is less than 1. What's it converge to? 1 over 1 minus 3/5. That's 1 over 2/5, which is 5/2, or 2.5 if you feel the need. Let's take a look at number 6. A sub 1 is pi over 2. That's pretty easy. What are you multiplying by every time here? Well, it appears that you're multiplying by pi over 2. Is pi over 2 less than 1? Well, this is 3.14 divided by 2, so that's 1 point something. 1.14, 1.07 something is not less than 1. So this is divergent. Be careful. If you plug into the formula, you will get an answer, but it's not the right answer because it's not convergent. The partial sum is this. We just talked about it. So here's an example of a formula we're going to use a lot later on. We're going to say that when you do this pattern forever, it's the same thing as this polynomial, or this rational function. Okay? This only works between -1 and 1. We'll get into this a lot more. This is called a Taylor series, or a power series. So we'll talk about that here in a couple sections. Thanks, everyone.